They liked the balance that they had in race.
Casey Kane, we congratulate him, his third career pole.
It's all three Hendrick Motorsports in the front.
There's a few movers and shakers out there.
To victory lane is Joey Logano.
Get the inside line on who's fast and who's last before setting your NASCAR fantasy race team this weekend. This is the Inside Line on MRN.com, presented by Hercules Tires. Now, here are your fantasy experts, Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
Thank you so much for making us a part of your lunch hour, and we welcome you to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show on a Friday afternoon. I'm Tyler Burnett. Robbie Mays is back on the plan this week as we talk fantasy racing. He's done being a Twitter, and we're here. Right, Robbie?
I did not miss you last week. Let me tell you something, folks. If you have the choice between kidney stones or sitting next to him every Friday, take kidney stones.
All right. The drinking word today is kidney stones. We'll see how many times Robbie says it. From worst to first, Joey Logano does it at Richmond. Was that a surprise to you?
I think it was a little bit of a surprise because I thought passing at Richmond on Sunday afternoon was going to be at a premium, but it turned out, Tyler, there was a lot of passing going on all day long. But it wasn't until that series of restarts at the end that Joey Logano really got the track position to be able to get up front. He was a top 10 car, but he didn't have that track position until the very end of the race. Those restarts, he nailed those restarts, and he was able to get past everybody and get his first win of 2017 in his 300 start. And he joined some pretty good company winning in your 300 start, including our own Rusty Wallace.
Matt Kenseth, Brad Keselowski, two of the best fantasy picks last week. Of course, neither one of them was on my team, unfortunately. They led a lot of laps. And it's going to be a different story this week because we do not have as many laps at Talladega this week, and you're probably not going to see one guy lead the majority of the laps unless Brad Keselowski's up front all day long, which he's done in the past at restrictor plate tracks.
Yeah.
But at least the point total is not going to be as high out of Talladega because you don't have the 400 laps you saw at Richmond and the 500 laps you saw in Martinsville.
188 laps is lap count this week. That's regulation for 500 miles. I'll go ahead and spoil one stat I've got for later on. Brad Keselowski last year, out of 380 possible laps to lead at Talladega in the two races last year, he led 136. That's 36% of the laps last year.
Yeah, so maybe you will have someone who would lead the laps this week. Yeah. We'll see. And Brad Keselowski probably is going to make an appearance on some of our surprises this week and also on our must-starts this week. So busy show today. Coming up, we have Matt Dillner from NASCAR.com. He's going to be in studio with us today. That should be fun. Also, we're going to give our three surprises from Robbie and I ahead of the GEICO 500 at Talladega. Plus, we will play that silly game we always play each and every week, and Rango Fowler will make an appearance. The Fantasy Chicken will be on the show today. So that's all coming up on this edition of the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires.
If your wiper blades are worn and streaking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and save $8 instantly on a pair of Rain-X Latitude wiper blades. Improve visibility and save money with Rain-X Latitude wiper blades. Plus, take advantage of our free wiper blade installation. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Driver safety is the #1 priority in racing. It's also the #1 priority in trucking. The Detroit Assurance Suite of safety systems helps to protect drivers, their trucks, and other motorists by helping to mitigate the severity of collisions. Active brake assist, adaptive cruise control, and lane departure warning, all bringing a new level of safety and protection to the road. Don't just want better business solutions, demand them. Learn more at demanddetroit.com. Online and on the air, MRN is live from the track on MRN.com and the MRN app. Check out all MRN race broadcasts, pole qualifying and practices, plus exclusive motorsports programming live on your computer or mobile device. Or go to MRN.com to find your local radio station's online stream. Don't miss a second of NASCAR racing action. Listen live online at MRN.com, the MRN app, or your local station.
Let's talk more fantasy racing on the Inside Line.
The second annual Country 500 Music Festival is coming to Daytona International Speedway, May 26th through May 28th. The World Center of Racing will become the World Center of Entertainment, Robbie, Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be exciting.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Performances by Blake Shelton, Kid Rock, Miranda Lambert, Keith Urban, Brooks and Dunn, many more. And for more information and to buy your 1 or 3 day ticket passes, visit country500.com.
It's going to be fun to see Kid Rock there. Hopefully you can go to the World Center of Racing in Daytona to watch that. All right, currently in the top 4 in our NASCAR.com Fantasy Live League are in the top 100 in the world. And currently the number 1 guy in our fantasy league is 38th, and that is Gumby61184. He has been quite impressive, and he's going to be hard to catch. But Rich Colbert currently is 7th right now.
Why do you keep bringing up Rich?
Because he's the only one that's done anything in this office, and I know I hate giving him credit because we know how much I don't enjoy that. But he had a pretty good week last week. He's still in the top 10 in our fantasy league. All right, let's look at our surprises for this year so far. Whether it be surprises from Richmond, whether it be surprises in general this year in fantasy. Robbie, what's your number 1 surprise leaving Richmond International Raceway?
I think my number 1 surprise leaving Richmond last week has to be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He started 4th. He had a little problem early in the race, but he came back and finished 4th. He's been top 10 in all of the short track races so far this year. And when you look at what Roush Fenway Racing has done this year, if you go back to last 2 or 3 years, it's just been an abysmal couple of seasons for Roush Fenway Racing. That's the best word I know for it. But this year, both Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Trevor Bayne, they're turning things around. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I really think going from 3 to 2 cars has helped that program immensely in 2017. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. started 4th. He got another top 10 finish last Sunday at Richmond. I think he's a good option to look at this weekend at Talladega. He's had some success here before. So later on when we start making our picks, I think Ricky Stenhouse might be a guy to look at.
Roush Fenway Racing, yes, has been going in the right direction. The team that's on my number 1 surprise that probably is going in the wrong direction is Joe Gibbs Racing. However, Matt Kenseth did lead a lot of laps at Richmond International Raceway. Kyle Busch probably had a chance to win the race towards the end of the race if it wasn't for the commitment orange box violation that was at Richmond. But Joe Gibbs Racing is a surprise to me because if you have your grading scale 9 weeks in, for school, 9 weeks report card, Joe Gibbs Racing, they have no wins right now. So I don't know if you can put them at the top echelon of the sport right now. So that's my number 1 surprise. How about number 2 for you?
You just talked about it. Pit road penalties at Richmond last week. We saw a commitment line violation, which we wouldn't have had a problem with if the Orange Cone hadn't taken a vacation on Sunday afternoon. We saw speeding penalties on pit road. We saw uncontrolled tires on pit road. To me, the excessive number of pit road penalties we saw on Sunday was a lot, and that was very surprising. We saw some big names get popped by a lot of things. And you may not think that that can affect your fantasy team, but it does. If you had Kyle Busch on Sunday afternoon, for a while you thought Kyle Busch may have a chance to win the race. And then he had a speeding penalty, and then he had the commitment line violation. So pit road penalties are something that you have to think about, and it's something that you can't control. It's something you can't even begin to plan for on Sundays.
My number 2 surprise is Team Penske. Right now, 2 of the best cars in the garage. They showed it last week again at Richmond. Joey Logano started last, of course, won the race after her changing a transmission Sunday morning. But Brad Keselowski was the best car at Richmond, and, well, they both were good cars. It just happened to be that Todd Gordon worked the strategy well for Joey Logano, that's his crew chief, and they won the race. So Team Penske right now in championship form and the best team in the garage right now. What about your third? And I think ours kind of go hand in hand here.
Yeah, I think they kind of overlap a little bit. The third surprise leaving Richmond is, for me, Jimmy Johnson and Hendrick Motorsports as a whole. Jimmy Johnson is a multi-time winner at Richmond. He had just come off of 2 straight wins at Texas and at Bristol the 2 weeks before we got to Richmond. And even before they had, he and Junior got together coming off of turn 2, Jimmy Johnson was not very good. Something still is wrong with that whole organization to me, I think. If you look at Gibbs and if you look at Hendrick, you start to question some things. Even though Jimmy's won the last 2 races, I just don't know about that program right now.
I don't know if there's anything wrong with them. I think they won 2 races before going to Richmond. However, Richmond just isn't one of their best racetracks right now. I think that moving forward, you'll see some more success from Hendrick Motorsports. I personally think that Jimmy Johnson will have a top 3, maybe a top 5 car in the Coke 600 coming up at Charlotte just because he was so good last year. We know Martin Truex Jr. dominated that race. But Johnson was the second best car, maybe the third best behind Harvick that day. I think Jimmy Johnson will get it around there, and I think Chase Elliott will be good at the mile-and-a-half racetracks too. So we'll see. All right, must-starts heading to Talladega. Talladega is, I mean, you might as well just spin a wheel and guess this week. But do you have a must-start heading to Talladega this week?
Brad Keselowski.
All right.
That's the only must-start I have coming into this weekend. I mentioned it earlier. He led 36% of all the laps last year at Talladega. He won in the springtime. He had the engine problem in the fall race, which knocked him out of continuing on in the chase for the championship last year. And even though Paul Wolfe is not going to be on the pit box this weekend, he's going to serve another of his suspension races this weekend. I still think that raw horsepower, Brad's ability to get around the racetrack at a plate track, I think that's going to help him. He's got a great spotter, Joey Meyer. We have him on Motorsports Monday. I think he's one of the best spotters in the garage every week. So I think Brad Keselowski is one of my must-starts.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I think that's a good plan for Team Penske to not appeal that penalty this week because, first off, this is probably Brad's best racetrack right now. He's probably the best restrictor plate driver in the garage. And do you really need as much strategy this week at Talladega from the crew chief as you would, say, at a different racetrack? I don't think so. I think if you have a good spotter in Joey Meyer, I think if you have a guy who knows how to work the air, is up front, I think Brad Keselowski will be fine this week without Paul Wolfe. One of the guys I would look at this week is Kurt Busch. He has the best average finish over the last 5 races. In fact, he's only finished out of the top 10 once in the last 5 races at Talladega, and that was 12th. I would take a 12th from pretty much anybody this week because you really don't know. But, I mean, he finished 4th the last time we were there, 8th, 10th, 12th, and then 7th. That's his last 5 races. He has the best numbers right now. Chase Elliott has been good there.
Yeah.
I think Joey Logano is going to be good. He has 2 wins in the last 3 races at Talladega. He is unbelievable there. So those are some of the guys I would look at as far as must-starts.
I'm also going to look at Chase Elliott. 3 career poles. All of them have been on plate track. So if he wins the pole again tomorrow, if he starts near the front, he can lead a lot of laps here. So I like Chase Elliott. I've got Clint Bowyer again this weekend. He was fast during speed weeks. He crashed, but he was still fast leading up to that point. And we talked about some of our guys middle of the pack. I think A.J. Allmendinger is a good option this weekend. I think Ty Dillon is a good option this weekend. I think Ricky Stenhouse is a good option this weekend. He's at $15. And my dark horse pick for the weekend is Michael McDowell. He's a really good restrictor plate driver. He stays out of trouble. We talked about this last year. I think Mike Ford actually mentioned this. The guys who stay out of trouble because they can't afford to wreck their equipment, those are the guys that you really should put your money on coming from the back to the front at a plate track. And I like Michael McDowell to do that.
We saw that in the 500. I mean, it was definitely a game of attrition. And, you know, Michael Waltrip lasted. You know, you had Ryan Blaney, who's a good choice this week, I think, in my opinion. But those picks in the back of the field are your bread and butter picks this week. That's where you're going to make your money. And my bread and butter pick all year long has been Cole Witt. He's $5. He finished 21st last week. Yeah. You know, that team should not be finishing 21st.
Right.
Cole Witt has, he's somewhere in the top 15 in average finish at Talladega right now.
He's got a 17.0 5-race average finish.
Yeah. So I think if you can get a top 20 out of Cole Witt, maybe even better, that would be a good pick. Michael McDowell is a great pick. Some of those guys who know how to plate race, Lane and Castle. You know, you mentioned Chris Buescher, Lane and Castle. David Reagan has always been good. Those guys are going to make your team this week, and I think that's going to be important to look at some of those things. Qualifying doesn't matter.
No.
So we'll see where they start, but it's not going to matter much. It's all about the draft this weekend. So we'll have Matt Dillner from NASCAR.com coming up next. This is the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires.
If your wiper blades are worn and streaking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and save $8 instantly on a pair of Rain-X Latitude wiper blades. Improve visibility and save money with Rain-X Latitude wiper blades. Plus, take advantage of our free wiper blade installation. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Today, Toyota's featured NASCAR fan is Carrie, Queen of Cakes.
So, Carrie, why do they call you Queen of Cakes?
Well, whenever Toyota wins a NASCAR race, I make a life-size Camry cake.
Really?
Yeah, delicious and made in America, just like the dang car. And with all Toyota's wins last year, it was life-size Camry Cake City. Ooh, even lost a kid at one point. Tried to drive one of the cakes. Had to eat his way out of the drivetrain. Bless his heart.
Let's go NASCAR fans.
Toyota, let's go places. To learn more, visit toyotaracing.com. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc. Toyota vehicles and components are built using U.S. and globally sourced parts.
Numbers. In NASCAR, numbers represent speed, passion, guts, and glory. Because numbers represent drivers. Numbers like 88, 48, 14, 4, 18, and 24. Numbers that say, that's my driver. Don't mess with my driver. See your number live at Kansas Speedway, Saturday night, May 13th at the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Go Bowling 400. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
Now, where were we? Oh, yes, talking fantasy racing on the Inside Line with Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires. This is Robbie. I'm Tyler, and we're joined by NASCAR.com's Matthew Dillner on the show today, and it's a pleasure to have you, sir. You also do some Garage Pass, right, on the weekends?
Garage Cam. Just like your knowledge of pop
culture. Up in the first segment too.
You could screw that up too.
Yeah,
it's fine.
so
I can't wait to hear later, maybe throwing some stones at you.
Most likely.
I feel like I'm being like I'm like the small person in the room, and I'm so excited about that.
You're like a thin Oreo cookie. You know the Oreo cookies that have less cream.
Yes.
Yeah.
The normal size.
You used to be bigger than both of us, and and we could take that Snapchat filter of you back in the day and just drop you in there and see if you fit. But anyways.
Robbie.
We're here to talk fantasy racing.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that Matthew Dillner is here because he works for NASCAR.com, and we play NASCAR Fantasy Live each and every week. And Matthew, going to Talladega, I get the biggest headache every single time because it is tough. And I'm sure you feel the same way, right?
Yeah, because basically at Talladega, if you play fantasy, there are rhymes and reasons to who you're going to pick and who you're not going to pick. But then sometimes you could just throw, 40-something drivers in a hat and just pick out a driver and boom, voila, you hit on something. So it's probably the hardest race to predict if you're playing fantasy on NASCAR.com.
Yeah, it's crazy. And really, you say there's a rhyme or reason for picking some of them. Brad Keselowski, probably one of those that you want to think about.
Although he can't rhyme, I think. At least I don't think he'd be a good rhymer. I think Brad Keselowski clearly is your number one pick if you had to pick somebody to put on your fantasy team. You look at Penske and the success that Penske has had over the last 3 races, I believe, at Talladega. They've won all 3. And you attribute that to a very sensible driver, fast cars, of course, but you also have to give a lot of credit to the spotters and Joey Meyer and Tab Boyd and the job that they do once you get a car out front. Blocking those pushing lanes is so key, and those spotters seem to do it well.
Some of the things I saw Brad do last year, I haven't seen people do since Dale Earnhardt back in the 90s. I mean, Brad was like, he is so good at getting out front and then playing pickle lane and blocking people. And some people may not like being people who block like that, but I think it's smart. I think it's, if you stay out of trouble in the back of the pack, then, sometimes we do see the leader get wrecked at Talladega, but still, I'd rather be at the front than in the back.
It's a dangerous game to play, though, because sometimes when you're shifting lanes and you have 2 lanes making headway and you have to pick which lane to block, it could spell trouble.
Sure.
But at the same time, when there is trouble, at least you don't have to drive through it.
Right. And we're glad that they're going to be in the cars this week and we're not. Well, first off, we couldn't fit. But secondly,
Robbie could.
That's a lot of mind games to have to play for 500 miles. One of the guys that I'm sure the fans watching today want to hear about is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yes.
One of the best restrictor plate racers ever to live. He has 10 restrictor plate wins. 6 at Talladega was the track we're going to, 4 at Daytona. Do you think Jr. could win this race this weekend and lock himself into the playoff?
I am going to say it right now. I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins. The sport needs it, okay? We all want it.
Yeah.
We all want to see Jr. go out on top. This is probably arguably his best opportunity, maybe here, maybe a race like Daytona. Not that he can't get it done on some of the other tracks, but this is his bread and butter. It's always been Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s bread and butter, and you know how bad he wants it. He's talked about it. You know that. he's going to be one of those guys at the front of the field that if you're talking about fantasy, he's going to lead you laps. He's going to stay out front. I don't think he's going to do that deal where he hangs in the back. That's not Dale Earnhardt Jr. style. And I guarantee you we're going to hear that roar of the crowd like you've never heard it before when Dale Earnhardt Jr. takes the lead. As a matter of fact, this funny story, bathroom humor. Are you ready?
Sure.
The last time Dale Earnhardt Jr. won, 2015 I believe it was, I took a break mid-race to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
I'm in the Porta-John, and I hear, and I'm like, my God, is somebody upside down? What is going on? Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the lead. It's Talladega, baby.
Wow. He would break Twitter. He would break Twitter if he won that race.
Him personally would break Twitter. I've had Junior on my team before, but I've always relied on him as for the plate tracks. But recently, he has let me down a lot.
Yes.
So that's why I'm a little nervous about Dale
I think you could get back on that ship this weekend. That's my prediction because I know the last few races on plate tracks haven't been good for Junior.
Okay, well, let me throw another name out here. Kevin Harvick. We haven't talked about him much on the show today. He's won at Talladega before. Last year, I mean, he was upside down on the last lap, but I still think that Kevin Harvick is a good option. What do you think about Harvick?
Kevin Harvick's a good option, but can he stay out of trouble is the question. You look at Daytona, a little contact there at the end of the race with Ty Dillon and them, and the contact with, I believe it was Trevor Bayne at Talladega, being upside down. That's the thing with Kevin Harvick. He's fast. You know when Rodney Childers and that crew comes to a racetrack, they're going to unload a bullet. But at Talladega, it isn't always about that. It's about staying out of trouble.
Sure.
Personally, I'm staying away from Kevin Harvick.
All right, so we're 9 races in now, and I do want your opinion. How many different winners do we have? 7?
7.
7 out of 9.
7, because Joey Logano just made it 7.
Yeah.
How many winners? How many different winners do we get before the playoff?
Oh, before the playoff. Oh, that's a good question. I'm just going to throw out a number, and I'm going to say 12 different winners.
All right. So you think that there are 5 more guys who can win this year that haven't won?
Yes, there are five more guys that can win.
I think there's more. Okay, so
no, there are more, but
Kevin Harvick hasn't
happen.
won yet.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Kyle Busch hasn't won yet.
Yep. And he will.
Denny Hamlin
hasn't won yet.
Chase Elliott, we think he's going to get a win this year.
Chase.
Yep.
Who else hasn't won
I
yet?
mean, then
Clint
we
Boyer?
have to look at road courses.
Sure.
You have to throw A.J. Allmendinger into the mix.
Right.
Yep. So there's 6. So we're already above 13.
Yeah.
I still think there's more. I think Jamie McMurray wins.
I don't know if Jamie McMurray's a winning car right now. They have proven that they're a top 5 car. You know how hard it is in racing to get to that level and then break through.
Right.
Not that he hasn't broken through. He's won races before on the Cup level. That's obvious. But for a team to break through, you look at how long it took Kyle Larson to break through. Of course, that was his first win, but that team is almost there. It's kind of like the threshold that Roush Racing is trying to break right now.
Yeah.
Getting out of the 20s, and now they're in the top 15 almost every week. And now the next step is top 10. The next step for McMurray, obviously, is a win.
Yeah.
We throw in all those guys' names. We've also got Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez, 2 very capable rookies and really good equipment. I think either of those guys could get a win this year, too. I think we could get up to 14 or 15 drivers to win before we get back to Richmond.
Of the 2 rookies, I think obviously Jones is right now, the way things are going, it looks like Jones would be the first to reach that.
So you picked Dale Earnhardt Jr. to win. That obviously wouldn't be a first-time winner in the Cup Series. Do you think there's a good chance that a first-time winner could win this weekend at Talladega?
Well, it's Talladega. I mean, anything can happen. Give me a car. I'll go out there, and I might finish last. But anything can happen. You never know at Talladega. Michael McDowell, a good plate racer. We've talked about Cole Witt before. Ricky Stenhouse, I believe, finished 4th the last time we were at Talladega. And they've been riding a nice little tide, a nice little wave. So Talladega, anything can happen, and that's the glory of it. Lap after lap, when you're watching at home, or you're in the grandstands, or you're like us working in it, you're holding your breath because anything can happen, and that's literal.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. One final question. It's going to be kind of a goofy one.
Oh boy!
What lap in the race do you think we see the big one?
What lap?
Early, late? When's our first big one?
I will say the big one will happen in stage 3.
Okay.
I think everybody will be calm, minding their P's and Q's. You could see it spark around that 10th place position, maybe on stage 2, but I really think it's going to come later in the race when the intensity ramps up, and we see it at Talladega all the time, where so much hype and so much attention is brought into the big one. and sometimes it doesn't happen. But then at the end of the race, I don't care what the circumstances are. You know, if there's late race, it's always late race drama at Talladega.
Of course, we saw big ones in stages 1, 2, and 3 at Daytona. Who's your winner?
Who's my winner? Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Okay.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Do you
I
not
think
listen
my
to the show?
my dark horse would be Ricky
I just
Stenhouse.
wanted to confirm.
Ricky Stenhouse?
Ricky Stenhouse would be my dark horse.
That'd be a first-time winner.
All right.
That would be a good pick. All right, I'm going to get this right before you leave. Garage Cam.
NASCAR.com. On Fridays on NASCAR.com. 2:30 today, Friday. And Xfinity show 11 a.m. But tune in every week, live, raw, uncut, behind the scenes, and unfiltered.
All right, we're going to put Matthew Dillner in our rotation because we love having him on. He's going to come onto the show again sometime this year. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Excellent, man. Appreciate it.
All right, the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show rolls on as I probably get hit by under a rock.
I want to hit you with a rock.
Deal. Under this. So after this, I'll probably do that. Stick around. This is the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
MRN's Throwback Thursday, the greatest races in NASCAR history.
Richard Petty comes to the outside of Benny Parsons, and ladies and gentlemen, it will be Richard Petty victorious in the STP Dodge.
Listen Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on MRN.com or the MRN app.
And Dale Earnhardt has won the Daytona 500.
On demand in the MRN.com Media Center or on iTunes and Google Play.
Jeff Gordon wins the Southern 500 and the Winston Noble $5 million bonus.
Throwback Thursday on MRN.com.
This is Ashley Stremme.
And I'm Steve Post.
MRN's Wing Nation is hitting the road yet again to one of the country's premier dirt tracks, the Speed Palace, Port Royal Speedway.
Join Ashley and I for Weichert's Livestock Wing Nation on Saturday, May 27th and Sunday, May 28th during the Bob Weichert Memorial Race weekend at Port Royal Speedway.
We will be live behind the front stretch grandstands from 5 to 6 each afternoon, getting you ready for the Bob Weichert Memorial.
Join us live at the Speed Palace or listen on MRN.com or the MRN app.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
Now, back to the Inside Line's dynamic duo. Here's Fat Man and Robbie.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires. Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series practice coming your way at 2:30 p.m. Eastern today, and then final practice at 4:30 later on this afternoon. And qualifying is backwards this week. It's actually after the Xfinity race tomorrow at 4 o'clock here on MRN. All right, you have gotten 2 of these in a row. It is time to stop this streak. I am back better than ever. It's time to play Under a Rock or Tyler.
Do you live your life up under a rock? Or are you Tyler Burnett?
All right, see if we can do this.
Seriously, it took me like a week to find a picture of that rock. This person is very famous. He's been in a lot of things.
Well, you say that most of the people that we put on this thing are famous, right?
He has been in a lot of things throughout his career. I need you to name the person in this photograph.
All right.
All right, you ready? So, Daryl, let's cue it up. Let's play Under a Rock or Tyler.
I know who that is. I know who that is, and I know characters he has played. I'm sorry, but I have to think about this one. So he was in The Lion King, right? Is that right?
I don't know.
He was also in Sandlot.
Okay.
I'm not.
No? Nothing?
I don't got it.
That's a loss.
No. What's his name?
James Earl Jones.
Oh, I knew it.
James Earl Jones. We did that in honor. Yesterday was Star Wars Day, May the 4th, and he was the voice of Darth Vader.
So was he also in The Lion King, too?
He was the voice of Mufasa in The Lion King.
Yes, that's what I thought. And he was also in
Sandlot.
See, I don't know I don't know the actors' names.
That was actually a shot from Field of Dreams.
What'd you say his name? Earl Jones?
James Earl Jones. God. Bring in Ringo.
It's so sad. Wow. I apologize to all you James Earl Jones fans. I knew who that was, and that's really sad that I did not. I knew who it was. Yes, I did. I just didn't know his name. Like I said, I do not know actors' names.
Close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, marching band, and the inside line. All right, Rango's picked for Talladega Superspeedway include Brad Keselowski, Dale Jr., Joey Logano, Paul Menard, David Reagan. His winner is Brad Keselowski, and his car manufacturer is Ford.
All right, Rango. Let's see if he can. Let's see if the chicken can cross the road this week. And
he's playing Frogger this week. That's what it is. Have you ever played Frogger? You know what Frogger is?
He does not want to cross the road at Talladega.
When you go to Talladega, you're playing Frogger all day long. All right, so
who's your pick to win this thing?
My pick to win this weekend, I think, is going to be Chase Elliott. I think he gets his first.
You think he gets his first win at a play track?
I do. It's happened before. 9 times in the history of this racetrack has a driver gotten their first win, including the very first race at Talladega in 1969, Richard Brickhouse.
I'm not going to say anything because
Brad Keselowski got his first win here.
I don't think Chase wins this weekend, but I'm not going to make fun of you too bad because really anything can happen. And you'll probably take a screenshot or something after this and put it on Twitter if he wins the race.
Yeah.
I can't. I see Chase winning at maybe a Kansas or a 1.5-mile racetrack because they've been so good at 1.5-mile racetracks. I think Chase could win at Dover. But my pick this week to win. All right. I thought about the Daytona 500 champion in Kurt Busch, but I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to take Kyle Larson. I think Kyle Larson wins a restrictor plate race this weekend, his first ever.
Okay.
So that's what you got. All right, what's coming up today? 2:30 p.m. Eastern is Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series practice. 4:30 later on, more practice for you. That's coming your way. The GEICO 500, 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Hopefully you join us, Robbie.
I'll be there.
It'll be fun. We'll talk to you next week as we head to Kansas, and that should be very, very fun. Thanks for joining us this week on the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the Inside Line, presented by Hercules Tires. Stream us every Friday on MRN.com or the MRN app. The Inside Line is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, or download it through iTunes or Google Play. The Inside Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network.